For Hype Plus, I'm Terrence Sims. It's been widely agreed upon that music is a soundtrack to life. Any aspect of storytelling can be directly attributed to someone's life story. Like life, an album also tells a story featuring a collection of songs. The cover art to an album tells a visual story within itself and allows listeners to judge for themselves what they're about to get into. Some may find it shocking that some album covers purposely try to deceive their audiences by allowing them to come to their own conclusions about the music they've just bought. One example that comes to mind is the album cover for Notorious B.I.G.'s debut studio album, Ready to Die. Looking at the cover, one would automatically assume that Christopher Wallace is the baby posing. This is not the case. The baby was later revealed to be Keith Yearwood, a former baby model and someone who now lives an ordinary life, despite his face and image becoming so iconic and recognizable within the culture. What happened to the baby from the Ready to Die album cover? The Notorious B.I.G. debut album Ready to Die was the only studio project to be released by the rapper during his short lifetime. Released on September 13, 1994, Ready to Die is one of the biggest rap albums to date. With chart-topping, Grammy-nominated hits like Juicy, Big Papa, and One More Chance, this album was sure to make Biggie a superstar before his life was tragically taken on March 9th of 1997. When this album was being recorded, Biggie Smalls, born Christopher Wallace, was a tender 21 years old. But as the title suggests, the contents of Ready to Die came from a very much experienced and perhaps even battle-scarred storyteller, letting listeners in on his depiction of the dark yet ambitious era that was his world during the time of the album's inception. A big part of the album's critical acclaim was the mysterious baby featured on the album's cover. In the direct contrast to his youth, the baby sat cross-legged above the album's title, Ready to Die. It symbolized the beginning of the autobiography that would take you on a journey from Big's life to death. Sporting nothing except a diaper and a larger-than-life afro, there was a great deal of speculation as to who this baby could be. Some suspected that the unknown baby was Biggie's daughter, Tiana, who was born a year before the album came out. This theory would make sense being that the main theme of the album surrounded the pressures that came along with providing for his family. Others suggested that the Ready to Die baby was one of Diddy's kids. Even the album's graphic designer, C. Adams, thought the baby was the son of the hairstylist that worked at the label. But most fans assumed that the baby with the perfectly picked fro was none other than Biggie himself. This notion stirred some controversy as the Ready to Die album was released 5 months after Nas' Illmatic album, which similarly featured Nas as a baby on the cover. As you probably guessed, fans and fellow hip-hop artists saw this cover as a knockoff of the NY State of Mind rapper who cited the cover of the 1974 jazz album, A Child Is Born, as influence for his album artwork. Wu-Tang Clan's Ghostface Killah even went so far as to take a dig at Biggie on Raekwon's Shark Niggas skit from the 1995 album Only Built for Cuban Links. Although Ghostface proclaimed niggas bit off Nas, he, Raekwon, and Nas later expressed that mentioning the coincidence of the similar covers was not intended to start a beef, but more so just a part of the game. Raekwon told Sway in the Morning, "It wasn't being said with malice, it was more like, if Big did the baby picture first, maybe we would have felt like that about Nas. It was just something that Ghost said at the time. We was in there doing skits. We was high, drunk, bugging. You know how it is when a dude get on the mic, he get on the mic." He goes on to say that even though Ghost said it the way he did, he had a point. And they were only saying what was real. No one wanted to see one of the biggest MCs from the area biting off another one from the same state. Nas told Genius.com, "I can believe he said it. I had a picture of Young Me on the cover, and then Notorious B.I.G., rest in peace, had a picture of a baby that was supposed to be him." Big called me and he's like, "Yo, you fucking with them Wu niggas? You knew they said that shit, cause me and him was tight." He was a little disappointed cause he wasn't trying to bite off my shit. Years and years go by. Through all the rumors and debates, the question still remained. Who was the baby on the Ready to Die album cover? Did he know that he was going to stir so much controversy? Did he know that he was going to be a part of history? In 2010, Diddy revealed to Rap Radar that he used a modeling agency to cast the Ready to Die baby. That was the baby we just found. We did a little casting for somebody that looked like Big. Although it debunked the previous myths about who the little guy was, we still didn't have his official identity. And this revelation probably made fans even more curious. Where is the baby now? In 2011, New York Daily News solved the mystery and identified the chubby cheek toddler on the cover as 18-year-old Keith from the Bronx. Today, Keith Yearwood is 28 years old, but at the time of his discovery, he was a high school basketball player who wanted to go to college to study sports management. It would be years after the album's release before Keith understood the magnitude of the project he was the tiny face for. Many of his relatives had posters of the cover on the walls of their homes, but he didn't realize what it really meant until he was around 8 years old. Keith's identity was confirmed through baby pictures and paperwork from the child modeling agency Chickies Kids, dug up by his mom, Delcina Burns. She told New York Daily that it was tough getting gigs for Keith because of his head full of hair. She said some jobs even wanted him to pose as a girl. In this instance, though the fro worked in their favor, they got the call that little Keith had been hired. A question that Keith says he is often asked about his experience as the Ready to Die cover baby is, how much did you get paid? The answer, not that much. $150 for 2 hours of work to be exact. But it's safe to say that they knew that they would be a part of something iconic. So why did it take 17 years for Keith Yearwood to publicly reveal himself after all of the speculations? Simply put, he wanted his recognition after having people not believe him before. I just want people to know that's me. Yearwood said at the time of the interview, the truth is finally coming out. Since its release in 1994, the Ready to Die album has sold over 6 million copies worldwide. The album artwork itself has transcended hip-hop music and has become iconic in hip-hop culture. It's not just considered one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time, but one of the greatest albums of all time, regardless of genre. The cover art has become a big part of Biggie's merchandising and has been converted into posters, t-shirts, and other memorabilia. The baby on the album has become synonymous with Biggie himself. Many were surprised when they found out that Yearwood only made $150 for his work, especially considering how much money the album and picture has generated throughout the years. Unfortunately, outside of the actual album sales, it's difficult to determine how much money has been made through poster and t-shirt sales, as well as any other form of merchandise that contains Yearwood's likeness. Of course, it was impossible to determine how successful the album would be prior to its release, especially considering this was Biggie's debut album, but one still can't help but think about Yearwood's original salary. Stories of artists signing onto projects for minimum and that project becoming an overwhelming success has happened far too often in the industry. The cast of the original Friday signed on to be part of a small film for a minimal salary. There have been reports of John Witherspoon and Chris Tucker making between $5,000 and $10,000 for the respective roles. Friday would go on to earn over $27 million at box office, will spawn 2 sequels and become an ingrained part of culture. In a 2019 interview with Comedy Hype, Jason Weaver revealed he was originally offered a flat fee for the role of Simba's singing voice in The Lion King. Weaver and his mother renegotiated the contract where he would instead receive residual income as opposed to a flat fee. Now, nearly 28 years since The Lion King has been released, the residual income has far surpassed the original offer Weaver was presented. In specific cases like these, no one is really to blame, as budget constraints are the usual cause of talent getting paid too low. However, if Yearwood and his family had the opportunity to negotiate residual income based off album and merch sales instead of a base pay like Weaver did, a different story could be told as being a part of a project as recognizable and successful and impactful to the culture as Ready to Die. It should ensure that one would not have to work again. Unfortunately, it's unclear what Yearwood does now for a living, but it appears he left his career as a model behind. As a high school student, Yearwood played basketball and football and appears to be an avid fan of the Los Angeles Lakers. In December 2021, he married his longtime girlfriend. He captioned on Instagram, "I'm not the greatest with words, but I think everybody could see how happy I was to marry my best friend. I will always and forever have your back. I love you to the moon and back. To everyone who attended, you guys really made our night, and I love you all. The Yearwoods." Hearing that the baby on the Ready to Die album cover isn't the Notorious B.I.G. himself may be shocking in itself. When you think about other famous album covers that feature babies, it makes you wonder if these are also child models. While it's been confirmed that the baby on the Illmatic was in fact Nas, are the babies featured on the Carter 3 and 4 Lil Wayne? Is the baby featured on Good Kid, Mad City Kendrick Lamar? Who is the baby on the cover of the Nirvana album? Keith's likeness is one of the most recognizable images of hip-hop and will be remembered forever. Whether as a Halloween costume, on a vinyl, or a poster, year after year, we will continue to see the face of Keith Yearwood and his afro. Stay up to date with the latest news and comedy by subscribing here to our YouTube channel. Follow Comedy Hype across all social media and look out for original content on our new streaming service at comedyhype.com. For Hype Plus, I'm Terrence Sims.